Israel has significantly stepped up its bombing of Lebanon today. The health ministry says 182 people have been killed and over 700 wounded. Israel says its target is Hezbollah, but there is panic among Lebanese civilians, particularly those in the south towards the Israeli border. Women and children are reported among the dead today, and some families have begun evacuating. Indeed, in different parts of Lebanon, including in Beirut, tens of thousands of people today received calls and texts, apparently from Israel, urging them to leave their homes ahead of more strikes. Well, let's cross live to Beirut. Rawad Taha, our correspondent, is with me. And Rawad, look, this is a major escalation today by Israel. Lebanese people are on the move in large numbers, trying to find somewhere safe to go. And I know your family is among those trying to find somewhere safe to be.
Nadia, indeed, this has been perhaps a crazy day from its beginning. I woke up to one of those text messages sent by Israel to the Lebanese people, calling them on evacuation, although I live in Beirut, but definitely given the fact that probably the rest of my family lives in southern Lebanon, so it's probably part of their database. So I received that SMS early in the morning. The rest of my families received also calls on their landlines, automated calls on their landlines, asking them to evacuate their homes as soon as possible. Many people didn't take that threat seriously and didn't evacuate before the start of the Israeli bombardment and the series of raids. However, one thing to keep in mind is that the time frame that was between those calls and those SMS messages and the start of the Israeli raids on several towns and villages that were not that were not severely affected by the attrition war over the past year was very limited. So those text messages were sent early in the morning around 8 or 9, the Israeli bombardment to the rest of the south. So we're not talking about the border area. We're talking about deep into southern Lebanon, roughly more than 40 kilometers north of the border with Israel. All those areas were targeted as of 11:30 early Beirut local time, at a time when many families didn't even have the time to collect their stuff and get on the go. Once I received the text messages and once I grasped what was going on early in this morning, I myself took the road to the southern part of Lebanon to grab some of the things that I have left in my family's apartment in Nabati in particular. I was able to return to Beirut safely before the chaos and before the mass evacuation had started. I was expecting my parents and the rest of my family to follow suit and move as soon as possible. But shortly after that, the first wave of heavy airstrikes started. We're talking about tens of thousands of people who are fleeing southern Lebanon simultaneously. The traffic jam on the road is insane. The coastal highway is completely jammed and blocked. Even the road going towards southern Lebanon has been shifted, where cars are using both lanes to head to Beirut. So as we're seeing now in pictures from Saida, as you see, both sides of the coastal highway have shifted direction into Beirut to try to accommodate to all those trying to leave. Now, some people are planning to stay with their relatives. Some people have already had planned safe houses or rented apartments in different parts of the country, which are known to be safer. Some people were able to manage last minute reservations. I'll give you an example of my parents and my family. I was able to book an Airbnb at last minute for the next 15 days for that houses around 6 or 7 people. So contingency plans activated across all families in southern Lebanon. This is really a humanitarian catastrophe that is ongoing. The mass of displacement is unprecedented. Even during the 2006 war, we didn't see some sort of a mass evacuation that happened all of a sudden on the same day. During the 2006 war, we saw some sort of a gradual displacement of people from different areas. Now it's happening within a span of a few hours.
Rawad, you paint such a vivid picture of what's been happening today and the toll this is taking on Lebanese civilians, including on your own family. The images we just showed our viewers, I think we'll bring them up in a moment, are live pictures. This is from Tyre in the south of Lebanon. You can see there strikes hitting the city as well. That's another major city in the south. Rawad, just stay with us for one last question if you can. You mentioned the 2006 war that Israel fought against Hezbollah in Lebanon, and sort of give us a sense of what you think the next hours and days are going to look like in terms of what is happening on the ground and politically as well.
Look, Nadia, I think the Lebanese people have been very clear from the beginning that this is not a war they want. This is not a war they seek for. Even Hezbollah's stronghold has a lot of hesitation of what's going on and the purpose of this entire attrition war. But the mass airstrikes we saw from Israel are actually a call for something that is very serious. The number of airstrikes today we haven't seen anything like this even in the 2006 war, something in a span of a few hours where hundreds of villages are targeted simultaneously. This is unprecedented. But I think the Lebanese have been very, very clear in their voice that this is not a war they want. And I think the Israeli side also has been, at least diplomatically speaking, also saying that this is not a war that they want. I hope that the next few days and this sort of escalation could put an end to this entire attrition war and make sure that the Lebanese civilians don't face another round of death and a rising death toll among civilians as we've seen today. Not everyone who was targeted today were Hezbollah fighters or only Hezbollah strongholds. A lot of bypassers, a lot of civilians who lived in those towns and villages were also killed. So I think this is a war that many people don't want on both sides of the border. And hopefully some sort of a diplomatic pressure can put an end to this as soon as possible. Or else, if not, we're looking at something that could turn into a very serious change in the political landscape and in what's going on in southern Lebanon. We know Israel is ready for a mass campaign. We saw that Israel was very ready with a very clear target bank earlier today. And if we want to talk about retaliation from Hezbollah, we've seen maybe one barrage of rockets fired. But other than that, there seems to be some sort of chaos happening from Hezbollah's side, at least today. So the next few days will show a lot of what could be going on. But definitely, hopefully some sort of diplomatic pressure could put an end to all this attrition war and all this rising casualties, at least here. And if not, perhaps this could be looking like another 2006 war, if not longer, if that doesn't work.